Hey guys, Nathan here. We are about 4 minutes away from getting started. I can tell you what, Andy and I are going to have a ton of fun with you guys today. He is joining me here in a second, but you're in the right spot if you're waiting on the webinar to start, focused on how to become a deal closing revenue machine. And you should be able to chat with me in a little chat bar to the side, or if you're here for the replay, you want to make sure you keep watching. You're going to learn what this has to do with printing a lot of money. I'm going to show you what this deck has to do with closing multi-billion-dollar deals, and there's a very interesting roll-up. I can't tell you more about this. We'll talk more about this later. I'll tell you why this book is so important, but nobody talks about it. And lastly, I'll sneak up here and get, let's see, where are they? I've got these checks that just come in. They come in. And I lose track of them. Anyone else just throw your checks up in the top of your drawer somewhere. I've got all these checks coming in. I want to show you how much these checks are for, how they closed, and why it's important for you guys when it comes to making and becoming a revenue machine. So with that being said, I'm going to buzz in Andy here. Where's Andy? Here he is. All right, there's Andy, calling him in. Guys, where are y'all joining up? Where's everyone joining from? Just tell me in the chat over there on the side, where is everyone joining from? I'm curious. Let's see here.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
All right. Somebody's going, Nathan is so hot. That's so nice of you. Thank you. Who else? We've got Zyle Rath from Michigan. We've got George from Orlando. Very good, very good. Folks, we'll fill in here slowly. We'll have a lot of fun. Let me try Andy again here. There we go. Andy, how are you? Andy, can you hear me? We cannot hear you yet. Go ahead and try buzzing me. All right, good. Again, guys, we're about a minute away from getting started. Hey, Andy, how are you?
There you go. Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. How are you doing today?
Great. So good, man.
Nice. You look like you're just rocking out, having fun, chilling somewhere.
I'm at a coffee shop.
I love it. Cool. Well, we're going to transition right into the live feed so that everyone can see. They can already see me. They'll be able to see you and me, and we'll have some fun.
Great. Can I call you back one real quick?
Yeah.
1 second.
Huh? All right, is that better?
All right, there we are.
Nice, very good. Okay, let me make this full screen here. Skype, transition. There we go, full screen. Awesome. So, dude, what we have here, this is kind of cool. I'm trying something new, and you guys know I love experimenting with webinars. So we've got Andy and I here via Skype, streaming via YouTube Live into this screen, rocking out. And then we've got chat over here. So, Andy, it's kind of cool. I don't know if you want to do this yourself, but if you open up the actual page with the player on it, like on your phone or something, you'll be able to see kind of the chat going on while we're conversing, which is kind of cool, I guess.
Can you send me a link to the page? I don't see where the page is at.
Yes. Let me see here. You'll want to go to, I just sent an email out about an hour ago. Did you get that or no? Let me send it.
Let me check. I don't think I did.
I can resend it too. Hold on. Just so, it's always nice when you can actually see kind of who's hanging out, you know? All right.
Yeah, I love having the live chat. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah. There you go. I just put it in Skype. Did that work?
Yep. So it's on the page, and then there we are.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Recorded. Here we are.
Yep. So we can see people there in chat, which is great.
Webinar chat. What are you using for this?
This is YouTube live streaming. So it
chat
streams.
Roll.
Yeah. Oh, the chat is chat roll. Yeah.
Nice.
So Andy, do you want to just start, dude, and give some people, like, I mean, I think people have context already because you do such a great job. You know, you've been so kind in kind of integrating me into the foundation community, but you want to give a little bit of feedback and then I can just jump right in?
Yeah, totally. I would love to know how many people we got on right now. Do you have a number? And if you guys are here, if you can introduce yourself in the chat, that would be awesome. So you guys can see us. Chat's on the right-hand side. So just let us know a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and why you're showing up today. So Nathan and I have a little bit of a pulse on where you're at with that. And I'll tell you guys why I'm stoked to have Nathan on this webinar. One, if you guys don't know Nathan, I would be surprised. But if you don't, Nathan's one of the most strategic, smart business minds that I've ever met or come across. And so any chance when I get to hear what Nathan's up to a little bit behind the scenes, because I think he's one of the people who's pushing the edge of what's happening in business and in marketing, I'm always personally intrigued, and I figured you guys would be intrigued as well. And Nathan's working on some pretty cool ways to help you book more business, book more sales, book more deals with whatever it is that you're working on. So he's going to be over the next hour reviewing a handful of the things that he's been doing. So with that, Nathan, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, it'll be fun. I just want to say hi. So we've got Zyle Rath jumping in from Michigan, George from Orlando. Guest 3563, Andy is my early favorite, saying Nathan is so hot. You're so hot.
So true. It's always the anonymous ones.
Well, here, I can turn you off real quick with my blueberry candle burning in the background. I don't know if you can see that back there. So very cool. Yeah, guys, look, I called Andy earlier today, and I just threw out, like usually I have slides and I do a presentation. But what I did, I threw out all my slides. You're still gonna learn the same stuff, but I'm gonna give you a little hint. Okay, first things, this was my first ever business. Andy, I've never shared this publicly, but because I found it in a back closet here, this was my first ever business on the school bus. And I'm gonna open this and kind of break down what I was doing. You guys will be able to see this right now. You see Andy's face, but I'll show you more about this in a second. I'm gonna talk about my first real estate deal. It was 710 Roanoke Street in Blacksburg, Virginia. Specifically, how much money I put up, how I negotiated terms down, and I'm going to go through. I made some strategic notes in some of these books. This one is from Gary Keller, and these are the only 2 real estate books I've ever read. But I've generated a lot of income just from these. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Andy, you'll appreciate this. I'm doing a roll up in the B2B tech space right now, and this is a pitch deck I'm using with private equity firms. Now, the only part I'm going to let you read, and Andy, if you don't mind, I'm going to make your face smaller and me bigger if you're cool with that.
Go for it.
All right. Okay. There we go. Let's see if this works. Cool. Transition. Yep, so what you guys will see, this is the slide deck that I'm using to do a big roll-up right now. Now, I'll let you guys, you can read this last part right here. It says, like great sex. Should I read this, Andy? This is going to be fun.
Absolutely, you should be reading this.
This is seriously on the cover of this pitch deck, Going to Billionaire. Like great sex, slide 11 will tease you, slide 7 will make you moan, and slide 12 will leave you wanting more. So I'll show you those slides in this pitch deck book, and it shows you how I'm building it. This is literally what I use. Like I raised capital for Heyo. I use the same kind of thing. We'll walk through that too. It'll be a lot of fun. And then I'll tell you why I've never read, Money Masters by Tony Robbins or any of these money books. This is the only money book I've ever read. It's never really talked about, but it's all you need. Specifically, this stuff on page 84, which I'll break down for you guys. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. And the cool thing is, Andy, I think a lot of people tune in when you and I chat because they care less about the content and more about kind of how we're doing it. Kind of they want to reverse engineer.
Yep.
So the cool
Nathan,
thing,
I have my first question for you.
Hit me.
Have you shared that pitch deck with potential investors, and what was their response when they saw that slide?
Yeah. So, well, here's what I did. My first investors in Heyo, the biggest risk with working with me is I can be really offensive. So the easiest way for me to let investors know what they're getting into is to be really offensive on the front page of the pitch deck, because it will turn the right people away and it will bring in the right people. You know what I mean?
Totally. So if you're listening, this is why I describe Nathan as one of the most strategic minds in business, because some people just do this stuff and some people are just naturally offensive, but you actually understand that you're being offensive and you're using it to leverage it in every single deal that you do.
I do my best to, that's for sure. So yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. And guys, I want to encourage you too. Like I've got my phone here and Andy does too. so we can both kind of see the chats, and you guys are welcome to ask questions and chat in there as well. If you're just joining, you can make sure you just refresh, and you'll see it. I'll also talk about these. I know checks, people waver on checks all the time. These are checks coming in. They're like super easy checks. A lot of people don't know really how I actually make money. That's a good thing because then I can't be attacked. But I'll give you a little bit of that today. We'll kind of dive into that. So Andy, I'm going to cruise. I'm going to jump in real quick, share these slides, and then Andy, it's your responsibility to stop me if you think there's a question.
I got you.
Okay, awesome, cool. All right, let me screen share.
So if you guys are listening, and you can either go into the chat or just message me on Twitter. I'll keep my Twitter open too because I'm having trouble seeing all the chat. So if you have questions, type them there, and I'll answer. Make sure that Nathan's staying on point for y'all.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be really awesome. So, okay, great. So, guys, what I'm going to focus on with you guys is easiest thing, I think, become a deal closing revenue machine. This is not always an easy thing to do. A lot of people don't understand how to sell. They don't know what to sell. They don't know really how to do it. And I don't either, to be honest with you. I'm just going to share a shit ton of examples with you, and you can pull what you want from this, okay? So I'm moving forward to slide 2. You guys should see slide 2. I'm just going to make sure and do a quick tech chat. Yep, good. So everyone can see that. Good. So what you're learning is first, the 3 words. These are the 3 words that I've used multiple times, and specifically it led to this $45,000 check. Okay, and we'll walk you through kind of how it got signed, how it happened, the words I used in my email to close that. Number 2, Andy, do you know that guy? That picture in the middle of my screen?
I'm not seeing it. There's a little bit of a delay.
Oh, no worries.
Deal closing revenue machine. Oh, there we are. Oh, the guy from The Prophet.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Marcus Lemonis. Anybody watch The Prophet? People love The Prophet. This is Marcus Lemonis. So I'll talk to you about how I actually, I was going to a conference with him. He was the keynote. I wanted to meet him. I did something literally so psychologically messed up, but it worked. And you're going to read the email he sent back to me, and you're going to go, Nathan's off his rocker. But you'll see how it worked. And lastly, I'm going to walk you through some of these email scripts that I use to guarantee a response. These are cold emails I'm sending to billionaires typically, or multimillionaires to come on my podcast. And sometimes that can be very difficult. So we'll focus on that. We'll take lots of questions. We'll have a lot of fun. And then Andy and I are getting the hell out of here because we have drinks to consume, yoga to do, and Andy's going to go do his woo-woo, something meditation on the back porch. Right, Andy?
I'm going to shoot a bow and arrow after this, actually.
So those of you that don't know me, I just have to put this out. People go, Nathan, you must be a developer. Like, that's why you do all this. No, I was at Virginia Tech studying architecture, and the company started taking off. I pre-sold $73,000 worth of Facebook fan pages, and before you know it, people were hiring me, and I was speaking on stages with this guy. Now, I know politics is like a tough area, so you can judge this picture for yourself, but I was on stage with this guy, a former president, speaking at many events all around the world. And I'll tell you what, he's a piece of work. He's a lot of fun, but he always messes his words up. So like speaking next to him, it was very easy, right? Because you look good. So that was fantastic. Traveled around the country. And as we continue to grow Heyo, this came out in the A1 section of the newspaper. All right, so I'll let you look at this. This came out in the A1 section of the newspaper. All right, the Roanoke Times. It says a big deal in Blacksburg. Now, can you guys see where my mouse is right here? I'm circling it, circle.
Nathan, there's a little bit of a delay, so I just got the bush photo.
Got it.
So probably 15 seconds or so.
So there's a delay between my voice and what's showing on the screen, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. That's okay. So we'll keep that in mind as we're looking at questions.
I just got the Roanoke Times photo, so that's
great.
what you can expect.
That's good. That's about 15 seconds. Good. So right down here, guys, I'm going to zoom into this section and let you read it, right? I'm going to let you read that. This was about us raising a lot of money, $2 million, and it says there, bottom left of the article, A1, billionaire Randall Kirk has invested some of his venture capital fund on the fast-growing startup. So does anybody know Randall Kirk? Andy, have you ever heard of this guy? Randall Kirk. Now, he goes through a lot of work to try and keep his pictures offline because this is what very wealthy people do. I'm going to show you a picture with his Forbes profile so you guys can kind of see what he does. So there it is. And I know there's a delay, so you're probably just seeing that now, but 4.1 billion bucks, he made most of his money in pharmaceuticals, right? So he invested $2 million bucks in the company. We kept growing it, and growing it and growing it. And this is one of those fun videos we shot in the office. I'll let you check it out so you can see the team and see what the office looked like. Here it is. So I have to pause right now. You can look at this team picture in this video and you can tell who on the team is doing marketing and who's development. Now, I love Eric Biddleman over here. He's our lead developer. And he's going, if Nathan ever makes me shoot one of these stupid marketing videos again, I'm going to kill my, I mean, that's what look at his face. I mean, he wants to murder me right now. But we had a lot of team and Eric's super talented and I forced him to do this video. But we have other people back here having a ton of fun. The team grew. It grew. The office was great. And eventually, we then sold the company. This was about a year ago. So we sold it to a company called Vodago. And from there, I just continued to grow, and I started the podcast. So the podcast was a ton of fun. The focus is 15 minutes every day. Maybe some of you, out of curiosity, just say podcast in the Facebook, or sorry, in the questions or the comments, or just think it if you've listened to the show. And Andy, how's the chat working? Are people engaging or are people having difficulty?
I think the webinar chat on the landing page is struggling.
Yeah.
I got Rob from Virginia, but that's the only one. I know we've got a lot more on here than that, so I don't think it's loading for a lot of people.
Interesting. Got it. Cool.
Oh, here we go. We got some live chat on the YouTube page. We'll see. Maybe that's working. So we got Patty and Aces 2 down.
Okay.
Let's test that.
Cool. Yeah. Check that out too. That'll be good. So we launched the podcast. It does very, very well, and I'm landing like a $45,000 check. So that's the first thing that I want to get into. Remember, I'll get back to that deck that I showed Andy, this one, the roll-up, later on in the episode. And then additionally, I want you to take a look at these and try and guess from these screenshots what this has to do with deals I'm doing now. This is literally coming out basically from under my crib, my first ever business with postal tape and all. Andy, we're going to say something?
Wait. So Nathan, yeah. So the $45,000 check came from the podcast.
Yeah, that check, that revenue actually came directly from a podcast. So you're going to see emails of me going back and forth using 3 specific words that actually closed that deal. And so, Andy, a good chunk of revenue that I've generated post-Teo has come directly from podcast and podcast sponsorship.
Great.
So here, let's dive into that, right? So 3 words. By the way, my webinar people are going, Nathan, what do we use as a background picture? Oh, well, on webinars like this, you're supposed to put a big, beautiful mansion. So what do? You go Google big, beautiful mansion. You make that the background on the slide, and bada bing, bada boom, we got a webinar slide, right? So 3 words. So my first question to you guys, this is my most frustrating thing. Have you ever closed a deal and then had to fight like hell to actually get the invoice paid? Just say, if you're with me on that, type yes in the comments. Andy, has that happened to you before?
Oh, yeah.
It's the worst. I mean, it's literally the worst. You're like, great, deal's done, and then you have to fight to actually get the thing paid. Well, I'm going to show you a quick way that I solved this problem because I couldn't do it. It was not fun. I want you to take a look. I just went forward to the next slide. This is a screenshot out of my inbox. I want you to consider this day 1. This is on the 29th, okay, of what is that? August of 2016. August 29th, 2016. This is Matt and Chris, and I'm not going to show the company they're with because I'm going to show you everything else. So they said, weekend was great. They countersigned and attached. Now you're going, what did they countersign and attached? Well, again, I shot over the invoice for this particular thing I sold. Here's what it was that I sold them. Okay, so this is literally my podcast contract. You'll see mid-roll. You'll see post-roll. Okay, this is one of my firsts. And you can see this was a 3-month minimum, okay, where they were buying 15 episodes per month, all right, for 6 months. So, Andy, you can see this is a $45,000 invoice, basically.
Yep.
Right? So, boom, we get it signed. And again, the little white boxes, that's me blocking out the company name so that I can show you and tell you the rest of the story, right? So, the person who is director of marketing at this very large company signed. I then counter-executed and, of course, sent over the invoice, right? Sent over the invoice. Now, when I sent that first email on day 1, I always forget to follow up with people if they don't reply to me. Like I remember to send the email. I have my little book here and it has my to-dos in it. It says, Nathan, send email to this person, this person, this person. But I always forget to follow up if they don't reply. So I clicked a button in Gmail, and I'll show you how you can click this same button in a second. It's totally free. Clicked a button in Gmail that allowed me to remind myself in 7 days if they didn't reply. So days 2 through 7, I get nothing, nada, zilch. Hear nothing back. On day 7, this tool, again, I'll show you in a second, reminds me. So it pops this email back to the top of my inbox, and I go, oh, yeah, I need to reach back out to Matt and Chris. So I said, hey, Matt, just checking to make sure you saw the invoice I sent a few days ago. Attaching it again, just in case. Well, fast forward a bit, okay? That is what ended up having them actually forward over, acknowledge the invoice, process the check, and boom, 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 you get it done. And thankfully, you go to the bank, they let you keep those checks sometimes after they cash them if you want to frame them and stuff. The important thing about this is, there's 3 words in here. A lot of people struggle when they send an invoice, and I'm using a specific example, but this is applicable to sales as well. When you're trying to check in with somebody, but you don't want to be like pestery, it's very difficult how to like frame it, right? You might say, hey, did my email go through? And allow them to use a technical error to get out of like not responding to you. It's very difficult. The words I always use are just checking in. You can write that down, and you can take those words and put them in context however you want. So in this one, it was, hey, Matt, just checking in to make sure you saw the invoice I sent a few days ago. Now, this could be if you're trying to get an invoice paid, if you're trying to get, a meeting scheduled, if you're trying to get somebody on your podcast, if you're trying to close a big client deal, if you're trying to get a conference speaking spot, many, many things. Just checking in, I use those every time. All right. That led to that deal getting done. Right. So we're using, and I'm now using these kinds of reminders for all of these things. This is one of those things maybe you take a screenshot of so you can take it back to your place. But I schedule meetings, virtual assistant stuff. Andy, do you have a virtual team at this point, or are
Yep.
you do? Okay.
Yep, we're all virtual.
Yeah. So big virtual assistant stuff. And Andy, we'll pause right after I read through this and take a few questions too. Use it for getting invoices paid. Right. I hate when people say, Nathan, I'm not interested now, but can you email me in 3 months? You're like, come on, listen. You could just say you're not interested, right? So what you do is you call their bluff and you set a little reminder for yourself right when they send you that, and you go, okay, remind me to email them in 3 months. And then you do it and then go, damn, he actually remembered to follow up in 3 months. Now I've got to do whatever he wanted, whether it's pay an invoice, close a deal, or whatever. It's like an easy way to blow people away, and you'll impress them with your follow-up. I'm also
Go ahead,
Andy.
Funny, Nathan, is that I use that a lot. I say that a lot to people when they're trying to get stuff from me or they want something from me. And when they do follow up, I always feel this like obligation to do something. Like, oh yeah, I did tell them that I would follow. Like if they followed up in 2 months, we would hop on the phone or whatever it is, and it works.
Yep. And Andy, I have to apologize to you. You guys can't. I'm gonna very quickly transition back to me for a second. I'm apologizing to Andy because I'm an idiot. You can see here in this chat, the chat that we're using in the thing, it says 10 people because that's the max thing. Like, I didn't realize there was a max.
Nathan, if you do this, if you guys are watching on the landing page of where the webinar is with that chat box and you click the YouTube button, it'll take you to the YouTube stream, and on the right-hand side, I've got live chat up there. I'm monitoring for people. Do you see that, Nathan?
Yeah, guys. So what Andy's talking about is you should see it now on my screen. Over here, I see Patty Clifford, Aces to Down, James Archuleta, and oh yeah, Andy, I see you there. Good. Okay, good. This chat seems to be a little bit nicer than the one on the page, huh?
Yep, I was muted, but yes, that's great. You can actually on YouTube, it's way better.
That's great. Okay, good. So let's go back to screen sharing here. Transition. Good. So going back into the content here again, use it for following up. Like Andy was just saying, if you follow up with somebody 3 months from now, like when they told you to follow up, they just feel guilty about it. They'll do whatever you want. They kind of have to, right? Or they'll blow you off again, and then you follow up again, and then they feel even double guilty the next time you follow up on time. Also, closing new customers, getting podcast guests, birthdays. I love doing this for birthdays. When I meet somebody new, and I'll email them, and I'll click send later at the day before their birthday, and you can do it now and forget it later, and it just works great. So Let me move forward now. Let me check what we're doing on time here. Good, 5:20. The one button. The one button. So have you guys ever, I know you guys probably have been to foundation events, you go to a lot of conferences, and you go, I'd really love to connect with some of these speakers, right? I'm going to show you how I did that. I really wanted to connect with a particular keynote speaker, and it was this guy. It was this guy. So when you look at my screen, you'll see this guy is Marcus Lemonis. He is host of CNBC's The Profit. Hugely successful. Okay, here it is. CNBC is The Profit. It's doing very, very well. And I'll show you quickly because I think the way they do this entry clip is very, very nice. The Profit is basically Marcus Lemonis going in and helping people with their process, their people, and helping them generate more profit, right? Makes sense. And here's a little bit about the show.
Small business. It's where so many...
The guy that's here every day. I know the guy that shows up once a month.
My name is Marcus Lemonis.
Oh my God, you're here! Oh my God!
And I risk my own money to save struggling businesses. You should have called hoarders before you called me. In the last 2 years, I've visited over 30 companies across this country and put over $30 million on the line.
My offer is $1.7 million.
Wow.
I'm not just an investor. I'm a partner. And I'll do whatever I have to turn the business around.
Everything's gonna change. Everything.
I spent my whole life.
So guys, there you have it. That's a little bit about The Profit. Andy, are you watching by chance? Do you watch it?
Yeah, it's a little bit delayed, but I've watched The Profit. I love that show. I think it's phenomenal.
Would you say it's a little bit choppy?
Yeah, what? Say it again.
You said it was a little bit choppy.
Well, the video's just a little delayed.
Yeah.
But I've watched The Profit and I love it.
Yeah. You guys will also, for those of you that are People Magazine listeners, you'll know this. Bethany Frankel is dating Marcus Lemonis. A little interesting side twist there, right? But here's my email to him. Now, you may have to wait till you get the replay to actually zoom in on this. I'm hoping that the function on the landing page, you can actually zoom in and read this. But here's what I said. This was a cold email to Marcus. The subject line was, need a creative deal-making mind to help consolidate $5 billion social software market. Now, I was asking for a lot of stuff at the beginning. At the end, though, Andy, what I said was, will you brainstorm with me for 30 minutes while you're in Atlanta, and in exchange, I'll buy 3 orders of chocolate-dipped sea salt from Sweet Pete's website. Because that episode had just aired, and I knew he was probably trying to drive sales on it. Now, in my mind, that's going to cost is like $70, right? It's like nothing for a few minutes with him. So what do we think he wrote back? Now, first off, it's on a webinar, and I wouldn't be bragging about this if he didn't reply at all. So you know he probably replied. So the second question is, what did he reply with? And I love this response. I'm not going to say anything. I'll let you read it.
It's waiting for it to load.
Yeah.
But I think it's so fascinating breaking down cold emails like this, of like subject line, first sentence. Everyone is strategically placed here to like hit on one sort of piece, right? So it's like, hey, I'll see you next week. Piece of social proof of what you're up to. Showing your numbers, so it's like you're not fucking around. You actually know what you're doing. I just got his reply. You guys just saw it. It says 4 orders in 10 minutes.
So I asked for 3 orders in 30 minutes, and he goes 4 orders in 10 minutes, and I go, are you fucking kidding me? What do I do next? There's the receipt, baby. Sweet Pete's. I bought 4 of the chocolate dipped sea salt caramels. I screenshotted the receipt. I sent it to Marcus, and boom, cost me $74.93 to get a one-on-one 10-minute meeting with Marcus Lemonis. Super easy. So
it's ridiculous.
Andy's shaking his head, but like this is the kind of stuff you guys have to think about. Like when everyone else is doing this shit, everyone else is teaching in info courses and info products, you got to think totally different. And like that's what works. Just think about what people care about. So the conference date was coming up, right? This was now day 1, May 3rd. The conference is 3 days away. I buy the chocolates, and Marcus says, Nathan, I don't know what my schedule is yet. So I reply instantly on that day, okay? And I say, have more insight into your schedule this morning. Now, I don't send it on May 3rd. Again, this is 3 days before the conference. I want to send it a day before the conference when he might know more about his schedule. But I want to do it now because I'm going to be flying and busy. I'm going to forget to follow up if I don't do it now. So I write the email, and then I click this red button. Okay, I click the send later button, right? And I'll show you again how you can do this in Gmail in a second. I click send later, and I say in 2 days, which is a day before the conference, at 5:22 a.m., early in the morning. I read somewhere online that he woke up at 5 a.m. So I figured 5:22, it's, random enough where it's after, where it doesn't look planned, but it'll hit him right in the morning. So here's what happened, right? That email then gets sent to him May 5th, okay, all right, at 5:22 a.m. Okay, that's again a day, 2 days before the conference. Long story short, we ended up having a great time together. People saw me sitting with him before he spoke and are going, how is this guy like with Marcus Lemonis? The answer, a lot of sea salt caramel, $74 worth, all right? That's the answer. So this is an example of how I kind of creatively used the send later concept. That's the one button I really encourage you guys to use, and the reason it's important is you can do it for things like emailing closer to an action day, like an event. You can also, if you're an entrepreneur like we are, you can avoid emailing employees during weekends, right? So if you write emails over the weekends, you can schedule it to be sent at 6 a.m. on Monday, right? Which is nice. You can schedule emails for someone's birthday or email customers tomorrow at 6 a.m. So like right now it's in the evening. You don't want to send an email now, but you want to write it so you get it out of your brain, right? So then you just schedule it to go tomorrow. Again, I'll walk you through how to do that in a second. So you can probably, I'm going to have you guys guess real quick. So take a look at this. This is my little bead set. Okay, this is my beautiful bead set from when I was super young. And Andy, you look at this and you go, maybe something was a little crazy with Nathan. He has like these little slips where people could on the bus order what kind of little necklaces they wanted. He has all of his little beads sorted. He has a little post-it tape with his extra cards in the upper left of his binder, right? Like you're going to go, Nathan knows systems. Right, this is when I was like a child. I systematized everything. I don't know what it was. I wish I could, but it came down to systems, and they make you more efficient. Now, I was a boss on the school bus, let me tell you. I'm talking like I would do about 30, 40 bucks a week in these little bracelets, and they worked extremely well. So I'll show you quickly because I think there's a good lesson here. This was the box, right, that I kind of had everything in, right? So you have all the beads. And what I would do is I'd hand these out on the bus when they picked us up, but before it dropped us off at school. And they could pick, do they want a spiral, box stitch, or a bead, circle, pipe, donut, or what type they wanted, right? Choker, bracelet, or anklet. So boom, boom, boom. And it's so funny because, Andy, I collected these orders in this little book that I had here, like baseball cards. This is like a little binder I have. And I would put them in here. And I found this the other day, like tucked away in a closet. And there's only one order left in here. You know what happened? Her name was Lisa Meese. You can look her up on Facebook. She's gonna kill me, by the way. She was my elementary school girlfriend. And between the time she put this order in and when I was gonna complete it, we broke up. So I never did it. That's why the ticket is still here.
Aww. I like that somebody in chat asked who's Lisa Meese before you got to it.
I know. See, I was ruthless even when I was young. Totally ruthless. All right. So that's how that relationship obviously ended. Going back now, guys. Moving forward, Andy, any questions on those first two sections? Using reminders specifically to close. Again, I closed a big deal on that $45,000 podcast sponsorship, or send later.
Nothing too much yet.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll keep going then. So lastly, avoiding calls. Now, a lot of people teach like, Grant Cardone, watch me on the phone. Watch how good I am on the phone. Look, if I don't have to be on the phone, I don't want to be on the phone. Like, I'd rather just make money emailing because that means I don't have to talk to people, right? So I want to avoid calls if you can. And if you're really good at email, you can avoid calls. So this is what I ask people all the time. Do you actually enjoy selling on the phone? Most people will say, I hate it. No. Like, people talk too much. I don't know how to hang up. I don't know what to do, right? So I don't like it. Now, Andy, I'm going to do a side real quick because I think this is funny. My webinar people are going, okay, Nathan, we're going to make these slides for you. You need like a very soft, sophisticated picture of you in the background, right? So I'm going, okay, we'll do this one. It's very safe, very simple, right? Very straight to the point. I'm going, but I want some sex appeal. Can I do this one? And they're going, no. The arm on the head, the Superman curl, Nathan, like it's too much. They can see your armpit hair. We can't do that one. So I said, fine. What about this one? double arms up. I'll make it look like my arms really belong up, like a real model pose, right? And they're going, no, that's like not good. And by the way, this is not easy, okay? For every picture like that I tried to take, I look like this, right? I look like a fool. This is like not easy. Modeling would not work for me. So I go into some other pictures, right? This is like a big debate by my designers. And I go, well, what if we like took it back a little bit? And I showed off my great triceps. Andy's laughing. I show off my great triceps.
I'm dying over here.
So, I mean, I'm like, hello, cougars are going to love this shit, right? So you stick up your tricep right there and they go, Nathan, that's too much sex appeal. It looks too goofy. It looks like you're just doing it to like look cute. And I said, okay, well, what about like this one, right? And they go, Nathan, 260s. So I move on. I say, fine. We'll do this one, right? Goofy. The problem is I show my mom and she doesn't like that my waistband is showing, right? Those great, whatever those abdomen muscles are, she said, not mom approved. So Andy, that's how we landed on this background picture for the webinar slides.
I'm so glad to know that story.
So listen, most people don't enjoy selling on the phone, right? This is what your calendar ends up looking like. Every like 5 minutes, right? Another phone call. You want to avoid this if you can. Here's how you avoid it. These yellow bars. Can you guys see these yellow bars on my screen? Have you seen these before in your Gmail? What these yellow bars are scheduled auto follow-ups, right? So I'm emailing this guy named Martin. This is an auto follow-up that will send, if not replied, by today at 9:32 p.m. This is another one that will send 10 days later, 15 days later, if it's still not replied to. This, basically, you can think about this like an autoresponder that you put on MailChimp or Constant Contact or Aweber, except it's one-to-one and inside your Gmail. So here's how this works. And the reason this is important, the reason I use it in my workflow is for getting big name podcast guests, right? So again, day 1, that first email. Day 6 is when I sent this second email. Did you see this email? And day 20, right, is when the last email goes out. And I put a lot of people when I reach out initially on these kinds of threads so I don't have to remember to follow up with them. I call these auto follow-ups. Here's how this works inside of Gmail. So you can see my screen here. There's a background picture down here. You know, it says it's inside of Gmail, right? I click a little button and I can go in here and start a sequence, right? So I can say if not replied in 2 days, this message goes out. Then I click plus, I build my sequence. If still not replied in 4 days, send this email. Now you guys pay careful attention here, especially if you're trying to do a JV webinar with people or podcast guests. These are the actual emails I send to follow up with guests, right? To get them to respond. And I'll show you their response rates in a second. That's day 4. Day 6, right? If they still have not replied, I'll say the podcast was just ranked #1 by Inc. And I'll link to an Inc. article that had me at #1, right? And then I end with wanna come on. Day 10, hey, the interview is 15 minutes long. You reach 2 million CEOs and entrepreneurs. Are you game, right? Now I want you guys to guess real quick, looking at these numbers. Which one of these do you think got the highest reply rate? Day 2, day 4, day 6, or day 10? And Andy, I know there's a delay, but I'm curious what your guess would be. Day 4, day 2, day 6, or day 10?
Probably day 6.
Day 6. Interesting. Tell me what makes you think that.
I mean, with busy people, they're probably just not well. Day 6 or day 2 is my first thought. Day 6, I'm thinking with busy people, it's like, okay, I just keep forgetting, and you've got enough touch bases that it's selling them throughout the week. Yep. That's my first thought.
Yep. So here's the data. This is my own data based on about 700 guests that I've asked to come on my show. Right, about 23%. Andy, you nailed it. 23% reply right away. Is they right before on the second email. Only 5% on the second. 17% on the third. And then that fourth email, which goes, I mean, I've been following up for 10 days at this point, but 39% of the responses come after that last email. Now, you math wizards looking at this are going to go, Nathan, that doesn't add up to 100. Well, duh, that's because some people still don't reply, right? There's still a portion of people that I won't get replies from. But if you add up 39 plus 17 plus 5, that's a big chunk of people that I miss out on if I didn't follow up at all, right? And I definitely would not have followed up with them if I didn't use kind of this auto follow-up sequence I was using. So I'll show you how to use that in a second. Here's an example. This is Greg, right? They did about $400 million in sales last year. I'm inviting him on with my initial email, right? And he says yes. And I say, great, do any of these times work? He doesn't reply. So auto follow-up email 1 automatically goes out. Again, I don't have to do anything. It just happens. The only time I worry about this again is when he finally replies, right? Hi, Nathan. Yes, it did. We'll get back to you. Boom. He picks a time for the show and comes on. So again, this is a system that's set up in the inbox, which again saves you saves me at least a ton of time. These are people that sequence has worked on. So on this screen, you're looking at over $250 million with a B dollars raised. You're looking at Elon Musk's first investor, Tim Draper. You're looking at Vroom, which allows you to basically buy and sell cars online, which did $900 million in sales last year. It took all of them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 follow-ups before they said yes to come on the show. So it worked. It worked, I think, exceptionally well.
Hey, Nathan,
Andy, any questions?
What happened? Biscuit asks, what happened out of the Marcus Lemon conversation? Did anything come out of it?
Yeah. So when I go into a conversation like that, I'm thinking one thing, and not everyone will think this, right? But I'm thinking one thing, and it's be memorable. I know that's weird. I didn't have an agenda. I just wanted him to know if I ever reached out to him in the future that I could reference that weird guy he met at that conference, right? That bought the chocolates to meet with him. Because it would be basically an open brainwave to his time whenever I want it in the future. So my only objective was to be memorable, and I showed him some ridiculous slide deck about how I was trying to build Heyo into a big company. And so that's what came out of that conversation.
So what did you do to be remembered? Like, was there anything specific that you went into? Like, he's going to remember this if I say this one thing or if I do this one thing.
I was super cocky and overambitious. So I wanted him to think that's the really cocky/confident guy who's trying to do like $1 billion thing, right? So what's going to happen is I'm going to follow up with him whenever I want his attention and say, hey, I didn't sell Heyo for $1 billion, but I learned a lesson. I sold it for this. And he's going to go, oh my gosh, he's a little bit humble now. Maybe I'd love to work with him. It's kind of, I hate saying this because it's like actually scary for a lot of people in the U.S. right now. I mean, it's very much like what Trump is doing. You set big anchors that throw people's brains one way hard, and then you come back, and when you propose something that's still a little crazy, but way less crazy than your anchor, it actually sounds normal. And so, like, that's I won't get too much into politics, but that right now is what's happening in the nation is we're slowly, kind of like when a toddler plays violent video games and then they play with guns when they grow up, they're desensitized. You're basically, what he's trying to do is desensitize us to protest, to crazy things, so that when he does do things we would have thought would have been crazy in the past, they actually seem normal compared to his history. And that's actually, though, when you're negotiating with foreign nations, it's a brilliant strategy because they have to think you actually might do crazy stuff, and they'll give you stuff to help you avoid doing crazy stuff. But you have to make them believe it first.
Great. So your strategy with that is set the bar way beyond any sort of expectation to almost like a pattern interrupt at some level to where it scrambles the person's brain. Be like, what is that? Who is that guy? What's he thinking? And then when you're actually ready to come in for the ask, you come in to ask for something that's generally really reasonable and expected.
Yeah, but still potentially a little crazy, just way more normal than my anchor.
But if you were to ask that for that second ask for the first thing that you went off to, he probably would be like, no, thank you. But because it's the second time, it makes sense then.
You got it. That's exactly right.
Genius, man.
Yeah,
so
that's
genius.
Exactly right. Yep. Any other questions you see coming in before I go forward?
So yeah, there was a question around quick mail and the differences between quick mail and what you're showing us.
Yeah, I'm having a brain fart. It's James, right? What's his name?
Jimmy.
Oh yeah, Jimmy.
Jeremy.
Oh, Jeremy. Oh yeah, Jeremy. Yeah, super smart guy. A lot of what he's doing, I believe is more CRM focused. You'll have to ask him, but the tool's impressive. He's shown me it many times. Him and I talk very frequently. I think his is website based. You have to kind of log into a website and you process your mail and your stuff kind of through that. Is that right?
Yeah, it seems for like more emailing batch people, and this seems more specific and targeted and focused.
Yeah, it's kind
from what I can tell.
Yeah, that's a better answer than what I could have gave. So guys, I'm going to. There's so many. I'm going to quickly just like glance through all my extra other slides so you can see what like I'm gonna get to, which is like my portfolio split personally as an entrepreneur, where I put my money when I make it, how I generate returns, the ROE and the ROI on this duplex that I bought with 3 things on each side. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to get into with you guys, but and it's all just fun. I mean, honestly, it's all just stuff I want you guys to know because it's stuff I'm doing. So I'll quickly do this. I'm going to send you guys. I want to send you guys all the slide deck. Here's how to get it. The top inbox is what I use to do reminders, send later, auto follow-ups, everything I've showed you. It's my company, right? So that's part of the roll-up strategy that I'm doing with all these companies. Is I'm buying a bunch of these companies that I love. So here's how to do it. Here's how to get the slide deck. Open up and go to thetopinbox.com. And go ahead and just quickly install it by clicking Add to Gmail. Add this to your Gmail. And what will happen right when you add this to your Gmail and accept the permissions, it'll compose an email to me. So you'll get my email. And just write in that email to me, say, hey, Nathan, I'd love the slide deck, right? And practice. So send that to me. It's too late tonight. Schedule it to be sent to me tomorrow at 6 a.m. So Andy, while folks are doing that, I'll give a second just kind of for you and I to chat a little bit here. Do you think one of those is more valuable than the other, going into the real estate stuff or the asset allocation stuff? You saw the asset allocation stuff, I think, at Freedom Fastlane, right? So you know some of that content.
Yep. It doesn't seem as applicable now.
Okay.
Unless people are really wanting that.
So focus more on the real estate stuff?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Yep, so I'll give you about 20 more seconds to do that. Yeah, this is kind of cool, Andy. I'm looking at the chat.
I just went through the process, Nathan. This is genius how you're setting all this up.
How I'm setting what up the top inbox?
Yeah. Of like how simple it is to go to the site, click a button, it's in there. I've got my first use of it. You know, for those of you who know foundation stuff pretty well, we teach software stuff all day long, and one of the big challenges is getting adoption and getting people used to changing behavior into something. And the way that you've set up the top is so smart because it's so simple for people to just get there, start clicking, and using the tool without any barriers in the way.
Yeah, well, I will.
It's been 4 clicks and I'm sending my first email, I think.
Yeah. So that was something, Andy, I know it seems like super sexy now. We had to work so hard on this, and I'll tell you why. My team wanted to focus on revenue. Like, show them the paywall instantly. And I'm like, guys, you have to understand something. We have to drive utility first. You have to drive usage. You have to drive usage before you drive revenue. This is why a lot of info products fail, is people buy an info product, but then they never actually log in and watch the videos and take the course. You have to get usage driven first and then focus on revenue. So Andy, to your point, I'll show you this actually. This is the screen that I use. It's called it's the top inbox analytics. And what you see here is we use this internally to focus on usage, not revenue. In fact, maybe I should just actually bring this up real time. Let's see if it'll load. So Andy, unfortunately, I can't give a cool tool or anything that we use to build this because we just did it and it is unsexy. But what you'll see here, these are all individual people, right? And I'm going to keep scrolling so you can't really see any of their emails. But these are all people taking an action on the platform. And so over the past month, we've sent over 1.2-ish million emails. Now, what's important about all this data is these numbers, right? So we track users that have used it at least once per month, users that have used it more than 50 times per month, and users that used it more than 100 times per month. So Andy, what you just went through is one use. So you can imagine somebody with 100 uses, there's 54 of them, those are power users. Right? So our only goal with onboarding is to drive people into this 54 number as much as we possibly can, and we know if we drive usage, the revenue will follow.
Yep, totally.
Is that helpful at all?
So helpful. I hope you guys are paying attention to this stuff because it's really, really smart for looking at building anything. If you don't have usage, if people aren't going to adopt it, they're not going to come back. They're not going to keep buying from you. Yeah. You're building the business focused purely on getting the habit changed before asking for anything else.
That's right.
From your customers. Most people go the opposite way. They do a 2-week free trial, and then they start charging you. Most of the time, hoping that you're just going to forget about the charge and not actually do anything with it. Yeah. It's just not the way to build a business.
Yeah. What we do is we say there is no trial. There is no time-based trial because time is not a utility. Going through 2 weeks is not a utility. Using the tool a lot in 2 weeks is utility. So we focus it all on the usage stuff. So I won't beat this home. Good examples here, Facebook. They knew they had to get people to hook up with 7 friends, not hook up, but add 7 friends in 14 days. Then you'd become sticky. For us, it's 1 scheduled email in the first 5 minutes. So Andy, to your comment, you mentioned 4 clicks. I mean, we literally track the click stream on these things. 1 scheduled email in the first 5 minutes. We know if people do that, they're likely to become power users. So
great.
Yeah. So guys, ask yourself that question as you're building your own software businesses, right? Or your own businesses. What do you need your users to do so they get real utility? That's so critical. And ignore revenue. That'll come later. I'm going to quickly go through these slides very fast. Take a screenshot of this one. All I have to say, just read this book. David Swenson. David Swenson. He's author of Unconventional Success, a fundamental approach to investing. For those of you that don't know him, he runs Yale's endowment. So it's a great way to figure out how to kind of diversify your own portfolios. This is like, as an entrepreneur, when I make money, whether it's from selling a company or my salary or dividends or equity in other companies, when that money comes into, call it Nathan's head, he controls how I put it out into new investments. I put it through this machine. So I really encourage you guys to go check out that book, Unconventional Success. Going back, again, I'm going to go through these slides super fast. You can screenshot them. This is just basically my asset allocation. Maybe this is a slide to screenshot, right? This is how I have all my assets allocated, specifically even with like the things that are in those assets. So every dollar I earn, 30 cents goes into new business ventures, 20% into 2 cents into instant gratification. That's like Moscow Mule. Those are the beautiful lemon pound cakes from Starbucks. I joked on stage at Freedom Fastlane about these things, but Andy, I'm addicted. I'm so addicted, right?
Nice, yeah.
The podcast, Heyo, the top inbox business ventures are up here. This is highly risky. This side's highly risky, right? And over here is very safe. It's mainly managed by Vanguard, low index funds. Now, I want to talk to you about this guy, 710 Roanoke Street. This is something that people just don't talk about in the software space a lot, but when I have off-the-record conversations with CEOs, I'm talking very successful CEOs, $100 million plus exits on my podcast. After I hit end recording for the show, we usually talk for 5 or 10 minutes. The most interesting things come up when I say, what are you doing personally with your money after you make it from the software business, right? Because usually the software business is just a catalyst. They make a lot of money there, but it's what they do with that money that creates a snowball for life. This is a snowball for life example you're about to see. This is 710 Roanoke Street. Okay, the only 2 real estate books I read before I did this deal were these 2. And you can write these down. I'll hold them up real quick. You can screenshot them, right? It was Jay Papasan, Gary Keller, okay, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Andy, have you read it?
I've not read that one yet.
So, I mean, highly.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, it's very worth it. Like, there's a lot of real estate books that I don't read, but I mean, you can just look at the stuff I underlined. I scratched this thing up like crazy. The other one is this one. Okay, super, super straight to the point. It's just called, again, Investing in Real Estate, 7th edition. It's by Gary Eldred. So highly recommend those 2 books. I'm going to quickly show you the returns on this. Again, I think it's important for you guys to be thinking about not just software returns, right? And I'm going to show you. I keep track of this in a Google Doc, so it's not sexy. And Andy, you're just going to have to keep me honest here. I don't know how well it's going to show up in the thing, but anyone who emails me, I can send them this. This is just a basic return on equity calculation. This is basically saying for every dollar I put into real estate each year, how much do I get out? So this deal, which I purchased in 2014, I put up about $50,000, right, that I'd made. And that first year, my return on investment was 33%. The stock market did about 8%. Now, let me tell you how that works. Return on investment is made up by 3 categories. One is the actual annual cash flow. So I made $6,000 in just cash flow. I mean, literally cash in my pocket, right? That's the delta between rents and mortgage and other expenses. The other way you make money on this is, remember, your mortgage expense every month is split. It goes between principal and interest. Well, any principal you pay down, that's equity in your pocket, right? So if I only own $100,000 worth of the house at the start of year 1 of a $300,000 house, and I put $10,000 more into it in the form of principal payments that year, that's another $10,000 of equity, right? So that's how you get kind of return on investment stuff. And when you look at this over time, you start to see like this kills the market. 33%. I did these are actual numbers. 74% in 2015, 34% in 2016. It works really, really well. So I guess probably, Andy, the takeaway on this is, guys, I'm happy to send you this chart for yourself if you're analyzing your own real estate deals, and you can plug in your own numbers. That's probably the best way to give value here, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's somebody really curious about, so for deals like this that you're looking to find, whether it's real estate or software, like what's your process for vetting different businesses, and how are you getting how long does the cycle take from like beginning to close? Give us like the high level of what that looks like.
Yeah, so on a software deal, I'm trying to look away from my water. On a software deal, that could take anywhere from a month to 10 months. It just depends kind of when the founder actually wants to sell. The trick is do deals like when you don't need deals, if that makes sense. So send the first emails out to connect with founders when you're not looking to like do a deal, and then let them know you're in the market to do a deal. And when the time is right, they'll bring it to you. And if you build your pipeline big enough, before you know it, you're getting 4, 5, 6, 10 deals per month that you can do. And that's what I'm doing. In fact, this is that deck that I was telling you guys about, right? By the way, I'll quickly read this, right? This is the most uninspiring deck you will review all year. I'm not putting anyone on Mars, and there is no change the world vision. I'm a capitalist who loves money and winning, right? I'm following a methodical roll-up strategy to either go public where day one market cap pops to 1 to 2 billion, or I'll sell it for 500 million bucks, or we'll bust. You'll put at least X amount of money in this deal because you're curious about the data I have. You want information rights, right? And because you secretly love money too, right? Like great sex, slide 11 will tease you, slide 7 will make you moan, and slide 12 will leave you wanting more. Love, Nathan Latka, right?
Nice.
That's the cover page, right? Now, I'm not going to go through every single one of these pages.
But guys, just real quick, think about this from an investor perspective. Like, if you're Brad Feld here in Boulder, who just sees deals all day long of like these kids that want to change the world and build the next app and the next Facebook and all these different things, and then you see Mr. Lactic come in and be like, guys, just so you know, this is the most uninspiring thing you're going to see all day long, but it's going to make you a lot of money if you wanted to do it. Like, it completely cuts through the bullshit and just like the strategy you talked about, where it sets a bar really far out there, and then I imagine by the time that you make the pitch, it's like, oh, this is actually a really good deal to look at.
That's right. Let's say they end up investing. There is nothing more offensive I would do in the business than how offensive I was on this cover letter, right? So like they get all my shit right away.
Yep.
That, again, I hate saying this, but that's what's happening right now with the president, right? I mean, it's a playbook. You see this throughout history all the time. So, anyways, that worked really, really well. And I'll show you guys. I speak. You guys probably know this, and I like to speak and present in terms of visuals. This is the ultimate. Basically, the deck walks through every deal like a Lego block, and the colors of Lego blocks signify markets that I'm going to buy a specific company in. And when you add all those up, right, that deal value comes out to that $1 billion valuation. So like this is, I just want to give you an inside peek at how, again, I do deals. It just works really well, and it cuts through the crap like Andy said. Okay, cool. So, Andy, go ahead. Were there any questions coming in or no?
Nope, this is great.
Awesome.
A couple of people talking about rent stuff, but no, this is solid.
Cool. Well, guys, and I'll take total. I'm happy to stay on and take questions at the end too. Anything you have, just write it down. This is one of those, Andy, I told you I threw out in my deck I was going to use because I just wanted to like spew all the cool stuff I'm thinking about right now on your audience and hope they can take away a bitter chunk and have some fun, right?
Totally, man. Totally. Yeah, it's always so fun. Just like, I think there's two layers, you know, for me when I do these webinars with you is like, one, I'm interested in the content that you're sharing us, and then two, I'm interested in how you're going about it. So if you're listening to this, like watching how Nathan presents what he's presenting, I think there's two layers of learning that happen here.
Yeah.
If you're smart enough to pay attention to it.
I'm convinced that's why half the people watch my webinars is they go, what is he doing? Why is he saying that? Why is he cutting to his face now? Right. Which is good. That's a good way to learn. So, I I'm going to quickly go back to podcast revenue before we wrap up and I take some additional questions and I break down that one last the kind of the checks that I was showing you guys. The podcast has done really, really, really well. I mean, Andy, you've been on it. We had a lot of fun having you on, and it's because it's just a different style, right? So stylistic stuff is important, but one of the things that I'm doing now is, and this is something that I haven't really shared publicly because I'm not yet convinced, but I'm basically going to stop email marketing. Halfway through probably 2017, I will not be doing any more email marketing. And this link is the reason why. So I'll let you test this with me if you want to see what I'm going to be moving to. You can go to nathanlackett.com/chatbot. And what you're going to see happen when you guys do this, again, I can tell you it's way more powerful if you actually do it. But I'm using a company called ManyChat, all right? And this basically it connects you to my Facebook page via Messenger. And when you do that, you're going to start to get data. In other words, I can see, Andy, how old you are, like what other companies you like. And I can say, hey, Andy, here are 5 CEOs I interviewed on the podcast that are your age, living in Colorado, right? That also like that fan page or that also compete with Yesware. Right, so it's my big issue with the show is I've done so many episodes. There's 500. People don't know where to start when they find it. So I'm going to move all of my messaging to this. Andy, what do you think? Is that risky? You think it's going to work?
Dude, this is really fascinating. Yeah, I think email marketing is I mean, everybody's obviously still doing it. It still has a good lifetime, but I think there's going to be more stuff emerge over the next few years, and this seems phenomenal. I've been looking at the chatbot world a little bit, and it is really, really fascinating what's happening in that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of ManyChat. Who built it?
So the founder's actually coming on my show in 3 days, and his name is escaping me at the moment, but I'll quickly show you guys the back end. I mean, look how similar this looks to like an Aweber, right? I mean, you have dashboard, audience, growth tools, blah, 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 subscribers, right? So if you guys go, and what happens is ManyChat will open up a messaging thing. Just type hi to me, right? So if you go to that link I sent you, nathanlackett.com/chatbot, it's basically going to take you inside of Messenger into a message with me. Just say something. Say, hey, Nathan, or hey, something like that, and I'll show you what happens.
So it first has me log in with Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
And then I'm going to click get started. Oh, look at you. Hi. Sec.
So you probably got a message, Andy. It said, hey, Andy, like you were just on my site.
You're on my site, remember? Yep.
Yep. So again, that's basically like a merge tag that you would see in email marketing, except it's in a chatbot now.
Now, does this will this like extract email and everything? And
No.
Okay.
It doesn't do any of that extraction stuff. There's not a lot of data extraction stuff yet, but I think I'm okay with that. Look, Facebook is getting a tighter grip on me. They have more power over me if I don't have my people's email addresses. But there's so much power to actually bringing the conversation and your content to where people already are. And so that's the bet I'm taking with this.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can see all of you guys messaging me right now, right? Sex, you guys are saying stuff to me. This will start to process chats. And I can come in here. The thing is, I can come in here. Someone said my pants just went on fire. I can come in here and actually talk to you like a real. See, Patrick Clifford. Patrick, you must be in the chat. So see, Patrick, this is a real webinar. It's not a recording, I promise. Right? So this is working. These are all your people, Andy, talking, right? So that's how it works. And so what the system is doing on the back end, guys, is it's seeing like what shows I should recommend to you based off what kind of users you are. And that's how it works, Andy.
This is killer, man. I don't know if it'll replace email yet.
Yeah.
I would be hesitant to jump that far with it, but I think it's going to lead to some really fascinating tests for what comes with all of this.
Yeah. And you can see here, this is real time, right? So these are all your people, 10 or so of them just subscribed. The way that the subscription happens is right when you say, hey, you're like your first sentence to me or your first text, that's when you get subscribed. And it's cool because I can put you on a sequence, or if I just want to do a one-time send, I can do a one-time send, or I can do it real. I might actually have a support staff or me personally talking to you one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to show them that. And guys, I encourage you, like, this is when I talk to Andy and you guys, I like to just peel back all the curtains. This is a very new experiment. So like, if your experience talking to me through this is bad, like call me or something and tell me that's a shitty experience so I can edit it. I can put my number in the chat, but call me.
One person asked, what if we take someone here to talk about plans and pricing?
What if I what?
What if you take someone here to talk about plans and pricing?
Yeah.
Like if they're running their company.
You could absolutely do that. I believe probably in a year or two, you'll see people delivering full info product courses through this because you can set up keywords. Like you could write back and say, Andy, done with module 1. And it will then say, okay, Sam, here's module 2 with a video and a transcript and everything.
This is going to get really, really fascinating, especially in all that's done via AI versus any sense of like frontline support person trying to answer questions for you.
Yeah, so guys, I want to get into kind of the last section and questions here. I will encourage you though, you can go on your phone right now, open it up, go and just look for Nathan Latka, and it's the orange logo. That's the podcast. So again, all 500 episodes are here. I'm trying to use that chat bot I just showed you to figure out if I only show you one episode, how do I find the one episode that you're going to get the most utility from and show you that first? That's the goal with the chat bot. So we'll see how it goes. Who knows? I'll skip through these. So last thing, Andy, I want to wrap up on. This is critical. A lot of people in our space, they teach all these systems and things, but this happened this morning, and I had to do it because, Andy, I think you're the same way. Like, I don't know if you give your phone number out to kind of people you talk to. Like, I don't know if you get coffee with them in your cities. Yeah. It's so important. And so no matter how much you guys learn about scale and do stuff that scales, this is where magic happens. So this was from a guy, and actually this just happened this morning. I forget his name. I think it's Brian. So look, I'm going to let you read what he said here. It's a video, so you have to read it quickly, otherwise it'll disappear, right? And maybe I'll articulate too. So he said, nice work getting the head of product at pseudo.ai to give the pre-money valuation of their seed on your, he's talking about the podcast this morning. And I said, it was tough, but I got it. Right? And he said, I'm surprised. And I said, can I ask you a quick question about the show? Right? This is product development. He said, I said, first, I need your listening habits. How many episodes do you listen to in a week, would you say? And he said, well, it comes in bursts for me. If I had to average, I'd say 2 per week. And I said, got it. I said, with 500 episodes, how do you decide what to listen to? And he said, well, I just cherry pick the ones that are relevant to me, B2B, SaaS industries where I'm familiar, right? And I say, okay, check this out. Right? So this is me like manually doing what the chatbot would do, right? And I manually do this via email, text, phone call. It doesn't matter. You're understanding how people find your content, and then you're trying to systematize it. So I said, okay, Brian, check this out. And I showed him this. Okay, this is a beta thing that I've built, which basically takes all 350 B2B SaaS CEOs that I've had on my show and categorizes them, puts all that data in a readable format with a bot. Andy, have I showed you this before?
I just saw a picture of it. I haven't seen it in action yet.
Yeah. So what this allows you to do is sort by our average revenue per user per month, sort by number of customers, sort by churn, CAC, LTV to CAC ratio. And this view you're looking at now is called the revenue view. Now, if I go forward, you're now on the CEO view. And Andy, I'm here in Austin right now. I was in royal blue at the bottom of the Whitley this morning, and Neville came out. Neville Mador, who just wrote this great article that included Andy. And Neville said, what are you up to? And I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready for a webinar with Andy. And he goes, oh, the woo-woo guy who can also be businessy, right? This screen that you guys see right now, this is the woo-woo. This is the people that are saying, well, Nathan, I don't care if that person's a billionaire, if he's divorced and gets 2 hours of sleep, right? I want to be healthy. This shot, it looks data heavy, but if you look closely, you'll see it shows the age of the CEO. It shows how many kids they have, the average number of sleep, the average hours of sleep they get per night, and their marital status. Now,
wow.
People are going, Nathan, you can't include that. That's like too personal. You can't do. I'm saying, yeah, but there are people that actually care about that. They don't want to copy a billionaire that is divorced, that gets 2 hours of sleep every night, because they know that won't make them happy.
Dude, that's genius.
Do you think that's a good, I think this has to be included in data sets. You have to have hard data and soft data, right, Andy?
Dude, you're talking to our whole generation. values that stuff at a different level than any generation before. And there are like your diehard startup kids that just want to like work their asses off, but I don't think that's the majority of people anymore.
Yeah. So this is crazy. You could sort by, of all the companies that have raised more than $1 million, which CEOs are the youngest or getting the most sleep or still married or have less than or more than 3 kids. Maybe you're a parent who's convinced yourself you can't do a startup because you have 4 kids. Well, just sort, and you're going to meet people with 6 kids, 5 kids, 4 kids, and those are the stories you should listen to.
Dude, this is really good.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, so it also has their favorite book. So you'll get over 300 CEOs. They tell you what book they're reading right now and their favorite online tool, which is kind of cool. So this is how, the reason I'm showing you this is a real example. If I was going through the foundation and doing kind of what Andy and Dane would tell me to be doing, this is how I'm doing like my kind of customer call stuff, right? How do I get in on the data, understand what they want? It comes down to like real phone calls with people, right? So I told the Jim, I'll let you read, this is a real text from this morning. I said, this basically will let you quickly find episodes based off a ton of data points. And look what he said. He gave me a great idea. He said, Nathan, be sure to include the date of the recording when the data was captured. And I was confused. I said, well, why do you say that? And he said, well, because this is, me being critical, but SaaS metrics changed. He said that SaaS metrics changed dramatically over time. So when people are looking at your data, they need to have a timestamp on it. I wouldn't have thought of that. You know what I mean?
Yep, so good.
And I said, you're totally right. I take it for granted because I have all the founders on speed dial, but listeners don't. And he said, yep. And I said, this is what happens. I wanted to keep getting info from him, right? This is what happens if you click on an individual company. And I showed him a design of kind of what the company page looks like. Now, this is kind of where it gets fun. He's like hooked, and he's in at this point, Andy, right? Now, I don't have like anything formal set up. There's no website for this yet. It's just amazing design and an unbelievable amount of data. And he gave me his email for more feedback. And I said, okay, thanks, right? And then look what I said here. This is text that I would encourage your folks to copy because you teach this, but it's me doing it in action. I said, I actually have a small group, this is via text, of listeners in the beta, which I do, right? When it goes live, I plan to price this at around what Mattermark charges, or CB Insights, or PitchBook, which is $200 per month, right? But likely way more. So I said, in exchange for feedback and early access, I gave them $97 a month. And I simply said, would you like an invite to this early group? Just let me know. Right? And his response, well, I can let you read it, right? Definitely. Right? Cool, I'll follow up today. He says, thanks, love what you're doing. And I said, love you more. Thanks for listening. Boom, that's it. The sale came in. $656.
So
what do you think, Andy?
So good, man. So good.
I mean, I don't show that to brag, but I do think the world lacks examples of how this actually happens. Listen, Travis at Uber, maybe Mark doesn't do it. CEOs always make time to do this kind of stuff because it's how you stay in touch with reality and real users and real user flows. And boom. So now, we have my small beta group. I don't want more than 10 people in it, but we've got about 8 of them paying $97 a month. And it's a discounted rate, and it's true. When it goes live, it'll be way more, and Brian's now helping me. So it's a win-win everywhere.
It's so good. And if you're listening, what we're seeing in like the online marketing space is that the psychology is never changing. The psychology is always pretty much the same, which is figure out what people want and give it to them as quickly as possible. What we're seeing change is like the methods and ways that we're able to use data to do that really, really fast that we haven't been able to do before.
That's right. No, you killed it. So Andy, I imagine people are going to have questions about this, which we'll get to questions in about like 2 minutes, and then we'll wrap up. But I'd love, guys, your feedback, whether you're in the YouTube live chat or you're here in the chat on my landing page. Just quick yes or no in the chat. Did you learn at least 2 things today? I mean, we went all over the place, which I apologize for. But I talked about the top inbox, which is the email tool I'm using to send later, do auto follow-ups. I'm buying it, or I bought the company. I'm doing a roll-up strategy. I showed you my slide deck. I told you why I'm reading Unconventional Success for Asset Allocation. I walked you through this new product, the podcast, how it's grown, why it's big, the $45,000 check that I landed through that. Andy, we touched on a lot, but what are people saying? Do they learn at least 2 things?
Scrolling one second.
I can see this. Can I see this data?
Yeah, go to the YouTube page. You can scroll it all on there.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
and
says
there's a
Hillsbub.
delay.
Okay, cool, thanks. Says HealthLink. Patty says yes, indeed, absolutely.
Awesome. Good. Well, guys,
Great stuff.
That's good. That's good to know. Here's what I would love to do, Andy, with your folks. So I've got, and I forget if the screen is on me right now. I think it's on me. We've got, just like Brian, we have a very small beta group of people in this. And Andy, I know your audience is super kind of software as a service focused. I would love to have one or two of you guys join Brian and my other beta group. And what you would get basically for that? You already know the price. It's what I gave Brian. It's $97. But what you would get for that is all this stuff. And I told my team, I said, put the sexy picture on the sales page. Can we do that? Can we put the sexy picture on the sales page, please? Right? So that's what we do. We put the good picture on the sales page, right? Here's basically what you get for that, right? You'll get over 200. It's actually about 300 B2B SaaS CEO interviews. You'll get their MRR, ARPU, CAC, LTV, all their data. You know, it's kind of like Mixergy, but with cold hard numbers. And actually, Andrew does some of that, but we do it every time, every CEO, right? So it's like Mixergy, but with cold hard numbers. You'll get the 200 books that top CEOs are reading, which is like way better than reading on Business Insider, like top 5 books from entrepreneur who we just included in this article because they have a big list and we want them to market it, right? These are real CEOs where you can see their revenue numbers in the books. Their CEO, the family data, if they're married, if they have kids, how old they are, how many hours of sleep they get. You'll get revenue per employee metrics, which look, Andy, I don't know about you, dude, but going through what I went through with Heyo and raising capital, revenue per employee is so important. Like making money is so much more important than how much you raise. And so you'll see that. Next, you'll see one of the things I like to sort by, there's like billion-dollar roll-up opportunities. In other words, you can sort by B2B SaaS companies in the document signing space or in the CRM space or in the lead generation space. And you can start to add their MRR together. So if you add up all the data in my base, over $10 billion has been raised. And altogether, they do about $13 billion of revenue per year. Okay, that's like all the data added up, right? Additionally, first access is really first advantage. I mean, I guarantee most of you guys, I have one of your competitors in this system, and knowing all their data, it's just like gold, and it's data that doesn't exist anywhere else. And then lastly, this is the lowest price. I mean, it's beta. I'm giving it a low price because I'm asking you for feedback. I expect you to give me feedback. That's why I can do it kind of cheap. And it will be more than $200 per month, probably way more when it goes live. So, Andy, I would love to invite, I only want 1 or 2 people. They're welcome to come on. This is a sample. You guys can see you'll get 300 company pages like this. This is what happens when you click one of these companies in the chart. You'll actually get the whole company page kind of laid out, which is nice. And then just want to show you a preview of that. And then again, you'll get the CEO view with their sleep data and all that. So guys, I'll just take like 2 or 3 of you. I don't want a ton. This is not something I want to sell a lot of. I need to be able to speed dial all of you. So I don't need 30 people purchasing. But you can get it at nathanlatka.com/buy data. Buy data. And Andy, it's $97 one time for the month. And if they want to keep giving me feedback after that, they're welcome to keep paying $97, but they certainly don't have to. And it's totally their decision.
Killer.
So I'll let people kind of check out of that, but I want to shift now and do just total questions. I mean, are you seeing any really good ones? Oh, and by the way, were people able to see my screen when I did that or no? Was it all my face? I just realized that might have been all my face. Andy, did I lose you? Can I hear you?
Oh, whoops, I was unmuted. Biscuit was wondering the 3-point recap. What are the 3 points the webinar is based on? Can you recap those?
Yep. Yeah, guys. So I'm gonna cut back here very quickly to
Amy says she's interested in a recap and being a beta user.
Cool, guys. Beta user. Did you guys all? I don't know if people. Andy, can you help me? Did people actually see these slides, or was it all in my face the whole time?
I didn't see any slides about it all, but I did see. I saw like a little bit of the background stuff.
This is what I was joking about, Peggy, when I said put the sexy picture on the sales page. Is that good or what? Nice. This would make like James Dean proud, right? But everything I just read to you guys, I guess you guys were looking at my face. This is what you actually get. So you can see it on the screen, right? This is a preview of kind of the company pages, which you'll get 300 of. And again, it has all their data. I mean, all the CEO, revenue, ARPU, revenue per employee, dollar of ARR per dollar raised, which is an interesting metric about efficiency, CEO favorite books, all that jazz. Again, CEO view, revenue view, that's the link. So yeah, I'll just take like 1 or 2 people. Again, I don't want a bunch, so I'll probably just say stop once Peggy or 1 or 2 people check out, but it's nathanlatka.com/buy data. And to sum up the points, some of the points, guys, so there were 3 points that we wanted to hit on today, right? The first were the 3 words, okay? So when you're sending out reminders to people struggle with how to actually send a reminder that doesn't seem pushy. Use the words just checking in. That's what I used when I was trying to capture the invoice payment of 45 grand, right? All these checks. I mean, a lot of these checks are always notorious in terms of follow-up because, again, this is actually, what is this one? This one's from Creative Live for a big course that I did, right? From all kinds of different people. This one's dividends from a hostel that I own, which like I can't really share the whole thing, but you can see dividends from a hostel, right? They just require follow-up. Check writing takes time on the other person's part. So using the words just checking in and using the topinbox.com for follow-ups, those are the 3 words, just checking in. That's section 1. Section 2 was how I got Marcus Lemonis, right? If you want to capture and connect with keynote speakers at events, connect with them, but use send later, right? Which allows you to write the email today, but send it at a later time. It's great when you're reaching out to Andy and saying, Andy, can you do a co-webinar with me? And he says, I'm busy right now with my own launch. Follow up in 3 months, right? Write the email in that moment and schedule it to go in 3 months. Because Andy, we know you won't actually remember to follow up in 3 months if you don't schedule it now. Yeah, so that was that. And the last point were the auto follow-ups, which is how I'm getting many of these very, very wealthy, busy CEOs on my show. You want to use the topinbox.com. Again, it's free to jump in there and use. And you can basically set one-on-one kind of updates. You send this after 2 days if they haven't replied, after 4 days, after 8, etc. And so, Andy, that sums up those points. Is that helpful?
Super helpful.
Cool. And I want to welcome, let's see, I'm on my Stripe account here on my phone. So Bradley just got one of these bad boys. We'll just take one more. nathanlatka.com/buy data. You'll instantly get all the dashboard information. You'll get the login, everything, so you can get in here and export before anybody else. And then when it goes live, which I don't know, maybe it'll be in a month, 2 months, 5 months, I don't know. It'll be way more than $200 per month. This is something I'll sell to like venture capitalists and private equity firms, not info market product buyers.
Nice.
No dig there, Andy. No dig there. I'm just saying it's a different crowd.
Yeah, completely. And it's funny because the data's worth a whole different value set because it's a different crowd.
Dude, 100%, man, 100%. What other questions are you seeing? I want to make people are so nice to stick with us and learn for over an hour. I want to make sure I get everything answered.
Yep. I think that's about it. Zyle asked, how'd you start getting podcast guests?
How to get podcast guests?
Yeah, how'd you start?
So I use a cool call. First off, I just find the CEO that I want to interview, right? I get their name. Then I use a tool called Email Hunter to go to the website, which will give me the CEO's email, called Email Hunter or hunter.io. Once I get that email, I'll go into Gmail, use the top inbox, schedule an email to them, which, by the way, I can show you guys in my inbox. This might be a little bit risky to do, but that is okay. And you will see...
We're seeing your face again. I don't know if you want that or not.
Oh, good. Actually, that's a good thing. That means you can't see my inbox. 1 second. So this is the line that I reach out to every CEO with. It's a subject line, which I would encourage the person that asked how to get a podcast guest. I'd encourage you to use the same thing. Come on. My computer's really lagging. Hold on, let's transition back. Andy, you're seeing my face, or you should see my screen right now, right?
Seeing face. Oh, I'm on Skype, so it might be different.
Yeah. So you guys can see what I use, the subject line for every CEO I reach out to is doing story on you. The reason this works so well to get podcast guests is because it's not like saying, I really want you on my show. It's saying, listen, I'm going to talk about you whether you're there or not. You better be there. And it works like a charm. So all that happens here, doing story on you, these people, again, they're on auto follow-up streams. So if they don't reply in X amount of days, like these people, they'll get a reply, in 3, 4, 5 days if they don't, if they don't reply, if that makes sense. They're all on auto follow-up sequences. Is that, Andy, that answer the question, you think?
Yep, totally does.
And I think my phone just buzzed. So who was that? Yeah, that was, let's see, who was that? That was Amy. Amy at M31. Isn't this kind of cool, by the way, Andy? Can you see my face or no? Oh, no. Let me transition.
Yep, I see your face on Skype.
On Skype. Yeah, this is kind of cool. I'm going to cover up Amy's email and stuff, but this is kind of cool on Stripe. You can actually kind of see when sales come in, which are nice. I don't know if maybe it's not going to work because it's too bright. But Amy, welcome. And Amy is with M31 Ventures. Good. So that was 2 people. That's great. I just wanted a foundation sample size to see some of this data and be kind of included in this early user group. So, Andy, this has been great, man.
Dude, it's such good stuff, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing all this with everybody. It's always fun to see what you're up to.
Well, I appreciate you, too, because, as you know, webinars, sometimes if you're not really enjoying yourself, they can take up a ton of energy, and they're not fun, and they're slow.
Totally.
But I always enjoy it with you. You keep me honest. You ask questions people are thinking. And, guys, I just spewed a ton of data, and I hope you took something from it, and I really appreciate you guys for tuning in.
All right, brother.
All right, Andy. Take care, man.
Thanks, guys. See
Bye.
you guys.